Welcome to EdScoop TV. I'm Wyatt Kash, and we're here at the SETDA Leadership Summit, and joining us today is Doug Casey. Doug is the Executive Director for the Connecticut Commission for Educational Technology. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Wyatt.
I'd like to start by just asking, I know you're working on a lot of initiatives in Connecticut. Tell us about one or two that your team is working on that you're particularly excited about this year.
Sure. So one problem that we were looking to solve was really helping our K-12 districts come around the challenge of complying with the new student data privacy laws. So this is a law that was passed last year, and the content of it and the spirit of it was well-intentioned and really aligned with best practices nationwide. The challenge was compliance within a very short period of time. So we looked at the options that we had in front of us and decided that we would design a educational software hub. And so what the hub does is really acts as a point of aggregation. On the one hand, it explains our statute to vendors who are designing and delivering amazing educational technology software that's helping kids and teachers alike in supporting innovation in our schools. And at the same time, this software hub offers a place for districts to come and look at a list of software that has pledged compliance with our state statute. So the idea behind it was really, we wanted to move the onus of compliance away from school districts and back to the operators, and at the same time give those operators an opportunity to really understand with, hopefully, complete clarity what our statutes require, and then make those slight changes that they need to their terms to come into compliance with our laws. So it may not be exciting, but I think the higher level concerns that we had were, and that I heard from a lot of districts was that this new law would quash innovation because it would just, it would encourage districts to sort of scale back education technology out of fear for using software that wasn't compliant with statutes and penalties and those kinds of things. So we really wanted to create a kind of ecosystem where the districts and operators could really understand the laws, work together to come into compliance, and much beyond that, and this is in partnership with Learn Platform that built the hub, really take advantage of those professional learning community tools that are baked into the system so that they could look to share information about efficacy of software. A lot of peer-to-peer sharing goes on in this hub, and hopefully really elevate the discussion beyond simply compliance to what's working in our classrooms and providing valuable feedback to these operators as well. So it has helped so far. I've gotten really great feedback from legislators, even some of the authors of the statute. Originally, they're really pleased with it. Districts, vendors are all very happy with it, and we think it's going to have a big impact.
Well, tell us a little, what kind of initial impact are you seeing? Is it saving time, stress, so forth? And what would be your advice to other districts or states that are considering a similar hub?
Sure. Well, and there are different models to solving this problem, right? We're not seeing ours as the only one out there. I would encourage any state leader to sort of assess their statute and look how it aligns with other states as well. But for us, this was the right approach. We really wanted to make it as self-service as possible so that we could let operators and districts sort of coexist, work together to achieve compliance. But to answer your question more directly, we had this word on the street that this was a challenge to districts. One example would be a district having 600 apps that they have to manage across all of their devices, and how do you go through all the terms of service in every single one of those apps and do a crosswalk for compliance against what our state statute requires? Well, that's not scalable, and you multiply that times 169 districts, there's a lot of time being spent on this. So we had this visceral sense that it was a burden, but when I conducted a survey last year asking district teams to just weigh in on how much time they were spending on this, the results indicated that we were looking at somewhere around 80,000 staff hours last year alone to do additional compliance work. And even if you lowballed the loaded cost for that staff time, you're looking at probably $5 million of indirect cost to our district. So in terms of an ROI, this hub over time is going to start to chip away at that indirect cost and make it much more streamlined to identify high quality compliant software and then derive more benefits out of the hub in terms of understanding what's effective in the classroom. Yeah. So.
Well, looking ahead a little bit,
Sure.
tell me what are some of the other top priorities for your department in the state of Connecticut in the year or two ahead?
Sure. So as a launching point for that, we just issued our 5-year goals and plan. And so the goals part of it are underlying themes like equity that probably won't ever go away, high level. The plan part of it, where we look at 8 core initiatives that we're working on, and those are the things that we're going to be executing off of in the next 18 to 24 months. One that I can share with you that we're excited about is we are a Go Open state. We took the pledge earlier this year, our commission, and so part of the implementation of that is gathering together requirements for and choosing an OER platform. And part of that requirements gathering, some of the discussions that I've had has revealed some really interesting insights. So we're taking a slightly different tack because our commission addresses K-12 higher education and libraries. It's a broader education ecosystem, and some of the discussions that I've had around OER have been really encouraging, and specifically the K-12 community is really interested in being on the same platform as higher education because the K-12 folks are looking for more college level coursework and content for kids who are ready for that, and then for the higher education community, especially our community colleges who have really embraced OER, they're excited to tap into some of that standards aligned content. One example I'll give you real quick is I've heard from some of the community colleges that some of the entry-level math courses, essentially the equivalent of an Algebra 2, the curriculum and the outcomes can vary from school to school, even professor to professor. So for them to be partnering with high school curriculum developers and more standardized curriculum is a big benefit to them and will be a huge time savings. And I think the sort of underlying sort of philosophy and guidance for our commission of looking at that continuum of teaching and learning, I think is being reflected in that response, where we're seeing a real continuum across K-12, higher education, adult learning, libraries. We want to support technology and teaching and learning everywhere in our state.
And lastly, just what broader EdTech trends are you paying special attention to that you think will have a significant impact on the education landscape in Connecticut and elsewhere?
It's a great question. I think we're seeing, it's funny, our state hosted, our state chief information officer who chairs our commission, Mark Raymond, hosted a digital government summit last week, and it was interesting to look at digital government and the broader digital ecosystem that we live in now, and looking at how those trends are affecting and being informed by education. So I think a lot of the discussion has been centered around the Internet of Things and about artificial intelligence, and I would say as a broader theme, sort of automating intelligence and data and doing more with it. I think that comes with attention, as we discussed earlier, with the privacy issues, right? So I think this sort of currency of information that we either willingly or sometimes unknowingly are offering up as a trade-in for intelligence back to us or efficiencies will be a continuing theme. So I think there's a huge promise to do more with personalized learning, especially in our state. Our state Department of Education has been behind mastery-based learning, so how do we scale that up? But I think at the same time, there's a continual sort of education that we have to have with parents and school leaders and even our colleges that are looking at what does mastery-based learning look like, and assuring people that the use of data and the use of technology to scale and support it is valuable and can be done safely and at scale to really positive effects.
Well, Doug, thank you so much for stopping by, sharing some of the insights, some of the things you're working on in Connecticut, and we'll look forward to hearing more about your 5-year plan and some of the other initiatives you've got coming down the road. So,
sounds great, Wyatt.
Terrific.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Look for more of our coverage at edscoop.com. I'm Wyatt Kash. Thanks for watching.